Hello everyone. Welcome to the lecture on civil society, media and mergence. This lecture is part of a paper on media and mergence. In this lecture, we will learn about the concept of civil society, media and mergence. The lecture would traverse through the various types of media which have been used by the civil society in independent India and its deliberation on the mergence and the marginalized. Introduction. Civil society has always strived to address issues concerning the broader society. Since centuries, the civil society has been working towards the betterment of the communities. However, the issue varied across times and so did the medium of address. When Raja Ram Mohan Roy led the Burma Samaj movement, he gathered mass support through public addressing public meetings. In recent times, the anti-corruption movement was bolstered by social media campaigns which led to the rise of new political party to power. In the current context, it is very important to understand how civil society is holding hands with media and addressing the issues of the mergence. The concept. This section would look into the concepts of civil society, mergence and media. Examples are given to facilitate understanding. Students are requested to think of similar examples. Civil society. Many observers state that civil society are people that emerge out of society to address sites and issues left unattended by the state. It is not a singular concept, but a several pluralized connotation. Scholars have conceptualized the term in varied ways. Alan Turing termed civil society as the locus of light side of collective action. According to Neeraj Chalogi, this is the site where the society enters into a relationship with the state. What do we understand by the term civil society? Who constitutes the civil society? Is it the citizens of the country, the professional population, or the non-government organization? The United Nations call it the third sector, distinguishing it as from the public and private sector. The civil society can be defined as a group or organization connected by a common cause, working in the interest of the society at large, but operating outside the governmental and the profit-making sectors. Organizations that commonly make up for the civil society are labor unions, non-profit organizations, non-political people's formations, and other agencies which offer services without considering profit. Mergence. When we say mergence, we mean spaces away from the mainstream, where the marginalized, the communities or individuals which are relegated to the fringes of the society by the dominant economy and social agendas are the marginalized. Marginalization could be geographical or structural. It is often found that the communities at the margins of a social or an institutional structure are also located at the geographical margins and vice versa. However, we need to look for exception to this. Let us think of an Indian village where there are various caste groups, including a few households of Dalits. The traditional institution in the village would offer the ascribed status to the Dalits, forbidding them to use the deep water tap well used by the high caste, or imposing restrictions in entering the village temple. In terms of land holding or household income, the Dalit households are usually at the bottom. Socially, the traditional systems are so strongly exclusionist that a Dalit can never dream of getting assimilated in their larger village community. These households will be located on the periphery of the villages, thus marginalizing them geographically too. Their power in decision making or their participation in governance will always be neglected by the higher caste groups. The Dalits in this case are in the margins, both structurally and geographically, and could be said to be held in marginalized position. Let us think of a different example. A public bus in a city. There are steps in the bus leading to the floor of the bus. Their seats range in two net rows. The steps are high up and the axle is narrow. A person with locomotor disability on a wheelchair tries to board the bus. There is no ramp in the bus, thus making it inaccessible for him. This person, in the context of the public transport, is in the margin. While the bus is designed keeping in mind the needs of the majority population, no thought was spared for the few with disabilities, thus pushing them to the margins. Similarly, tribal population of the new liberal era, women in the patriarchal society, senior citizens with special needs, children, and other groups occupy spaces in the margins in different contexts. Media. What comes to your mind when we say the word media? Media can be defined as channels through which information is disseminated. The folk form of media would be puppetry shows, street plays, etc. The traditional forms of media are radio, newspaper, magazine, newsletters, and other print publications. The new form of media are digitalized spaces where information is shared. The electronic media, social media includes social networks, blogs, podcasts, video, sharing, etc. form a part of the new media. The intersections between civil society, media, and merchants. In the following section, we shall examine how civil society, while using the power of media, plays a significant role in addressing the issues of the margins. While doing so, we will go through the different categories of media. Folk media. The use of folk media in addressing social issues is commonly seen in rural areas. Street plays involve presenting a narrative through dance, songs, and recitation in public spaces. It does not require big stages to perform, neither does it require any expensive gadgets. Using local resources and minimal instruments, a street play very effectively conveys the point. An NGO Arpan in Mumbai conducts street play across Mumbai and Thane to raise awareness on child sexual abuse. Another NGO called Kanchan Foundation, based in Vasi, Maharashtra, conducted a play titled Han Han Men Lagdi Hon to address issues of education of a girl child in the country. The NGO Action Aid performed a street play on homelessness with 14 street children from diverse backgrounds. The play gave a nuanced perspective on street children's lives and issues related to homelessness. The NGO Jamgad was born from this individual, which has since then been working relentlessly with street children. Puppetry is also used by activists in civil society. Puppetry is a form of art, and puppeters are themselves a part of the civil society. Recently, the newspaper reported about 6 tribal teenagers from Karaput district, Odisha, who had been engaged in finger puppet show conducted in local Delhi. Each show is for 5 to 10 minutes. In 2013, a local voluntary organization with the help of Sri Durbaji Tata Trust taught 25 children the art of finger puppetry. Since then, they have done about 40 shows on different themes like importance of breastfeeding, malaria, maternal infant care, etc. The civil society uses folk media to beautifully address the marginalized. Traditional media. The traditional media like the newspaper, magazine, television, radio, etc. have always been very popular to address social issues. Print media is a powerful media to voice the concern of the citizen. The civil society since decades have taken the route of print medium to address causes of the society at large. In an advocacy campaign, print medium is found to play several roles at different levels. At the initial level, to generate public opinion, print media is used extensively. Civil society members write articles to garner public support and mobilize opinion. At the execution of any policy or legislation, the civil society acts as a watchdog. Any discrepancy or incongruity is immediately brought to the attention to the print media. Pen is more powerful than the sword is a popular saying of all times. Magazines like Seminar, Down to Earth, Combat Law, Frontline, etc. have dedicated columns to give voice to the vulnerable. On the International Day of the World's Indigenous People, an article titled Indigenous People in India and the Web of Indifference is published, highlighting the plight of the indigenous people in safeguarding their natural resources from the state machinery. This article is written by grassroots activists and prominent members of the civil society. Academic journal Economy and Political Weekly regularly publishes unbiased research work from the academia, highlighting the issues related to the people in the margins. Community radio. Broadcast programs specific to a particular area. The programs are designed keeping in mind the socio-cultural and political context of the place. Though the coverage of community radio might not be too spread out, the medium is considered to be vertically deep. Community radio is known to be used by the civil society across the world. Sangam Radio is a successful community radio project in India. Launched in 2008, Sangam Radio was developed by the Deccan Development Society, which works on issues related to farmers. The broadcasters are 2 local Dalit women who do farming during the day and broadcast programs in the evening. With a monthly expenditure of ₹1,000, this community radio station reaches 150 villages. The community radio is a perfect culmination point of media and civil society to reach out to the margins. Television is one of the most popular media of modern India. Television came in India in 1959 with educational programming supported by UNESCO. The program Krishi Darshan, telecasted on Wednesdays and Fridays for 20 minutes, addressed the issues of the farmers. This began initially in 80 villages in and around Delhi through community television sets. After being managed by All India Radio, it became separated from radio in 1976 and got a new name, Doordarshan. Till the period of liberalization, television was controlled by the government. There were several educational programs like Gayandrasan for students, awareness program on family planning, vaccination, etc. Most of the programs on Doordarshan were in Hindi. This made the content obscure for the people who did not speak the language. Though it did serve as a medium to disseminate information and raise awareness effectively, the civil society's access to Doordarshan was limited. In the early 90s, as television began succumbing to the demands of the market forces, private channels came up. Programs like Satya Mava, Jayati, Nazariya, Green Kala Express, etc. evolved from the civil society media centers. This program gave significant space to civil society to voice out the concern about the issues of the merchants, successfully contributed in mobilizing public opinion as well as funds to forge the interventions. The film media has time and again proved to be one of the most effective tools to bring forth the issues of the merchants. Indian cinema has also touched upon the fringes of the society, giving a voice to the voiceless. Filmmakers like Satyajit Ray, Satyam Benegal, Ardho Gopalkrishnan, Bimal Roy, and others have constantly strived to tell us stories which mainland India has ignored. Roy Sajuta, Benegal's Ankur, Roy Sajuta are classic films which had effectively mirrored caste atrocities in independent India. In recent times, the documentary format has also been widely used to give the mainland India a peep into its merging. Films like Have You Seen the Arana by Sunada Bose, There's a Fire in a Forest by Krishna Du Bose, Only on X Away by P. Baburaj, and G. Sornath Chandan talk about the constant struggle of the tribal communities to protect their home, their forest, their land from the dominant policies of the state. These documentaries have successfully revealed and analyzed the discrepancies in state policies, which often seems to violate some of the fundamental rights. Acting Like a Thief is yet another movie by P. Koram Freckman and Surati Taluka, which aims to banish the prejudices mainstream societies and the state has towards the communities which were notified as criminal tribes by the British. Their film on sex workers, people with disabilities, old people, women and areas in conflict, children in conflict with laws, refugees, HIV patients, minority groups, and others who have been in emergence. These documentary filmmakers are largely a part of civil society and are also engaged with the issues they have been working on. New media. Modern media, also called the new media, refers to digital content which is accessible through the internet and involves intense interplay between technology, images, and sound. New media theories, Leon Monovic describes new media as being native to computers or relying on computers for distribution, blogs, social networking sites, online newspaper and magazines, emails, online groups, chat room, etc. all fall in the category of new media. In recent times, new media is widely been used by the civil society. New media has democratized and revolutionized information dissemination and sharing. It has allowed a transnational mode of communication where the sender and the receiver are engaged simultaneously. There are podcasts where one can access audio file of speeches, lectures, or other deliverances. The new media also allows space for instant feedback, and there is a scope for anonymity. Social media in recent time has emerged as a very powerful tool and has had a catalytic effect in giving shape into a civil society. The Arab Spring was known to have gained ground mostly by the use of social media, which eventually led to the tremendous collective action resulting in the overthrow of the Tunisian and Egyptian governments. M. Lynch, in his paper, After Egypt, the Limits and Promise of Online Challenges to the Authoritarian Arab State, talks about 4 ways in which social media can contribute to collective action by making it possible for disaffected citizens to act publicly in coordination, by creating information cascades that bolsters protesters' perceptions of the likelihood of success, by raising the cost of repression by the ruling regimes, by dramatically increasing publicity through diffusion of information to regional and global media. Closer to home, social media has become the most preferred space to voice our dissent or to share grievances. The civil society in Kashmir has been opting for these new media spaces to voice out the concern of the Kashmiris. Use of Twitter by women activists has been widely noticed in recent times. The Banjara thought movement led by students and alumni of Delhi University connected over social media and deliberated on differential treatment by hostel authorities between men and women with regards to hostel entry-exit timing and the annual hostel fees. The movement spread to other institutions across the country through social media. The Delhi Commission for Women has issued a notice to 23 universities in Delhi to answer the questions raised by the women activists. To discuss the issue related to the implementation of the Forest Act 2006, specifically in ensuring community forest rights, prominent civil society representatives form a Google group. The group has members who are directly engaged in the implementation of the act at the grassroots. People who are a part of the academia, independent researchers, media persons, lawyers, voluntary organizations, villages, NGOs, funding agencies, policy advisors, and others. The group members kept posting about the various issues that are faced at their concerned areas, and there are intense deliberations which have also contributed towards policy formulation. The use of new media, in this case the Google group, has made the people from far-flung areas to engage in a dialogue on an issue which is relevant in the margin. Similarly, one would find another group floating in the web, constantly striving to bring out issues out of the closet like sexual harassment, child sexual abuse, domestic violence, marital rape, etc., and engage in an open dialogue. In India, CGNet Swara is an innovative radio space used for information dissemination in the local areas of Chhattisgarh state. It was founded by Sobransu Chowdhury in the year 2008. In a published interview, Mr. Chowdhury shared the motivation behind starting GCNet Swara. He was living among the Adivasis of Chhattisgarh when, in the course of conversation, they told him, "You should democratize your media communication platform. When we sit in a panchayat or in a small room, air is the medium and nobody owns it. So, we all have equal right to speak and to be heard. But when people sit far away and do hear about us, they need tools." Chaudhary reflected, these tools are available only few, which has caused an imbalance in the media coverage. The mainstream media designs information according to the palatability of the mainstream audience. The Adivasis who are sitting on the margins, geographically and structurally, are unrelatable to this audience. That when Chowdhury thought of giving a new incarnation to journalism, considering the increasing number of mobile phone users in the rural areas, he decided to shift the nature of journalism to the mobile phones. Thus came about GCNet Swara, which is a voice portal for the citizen. The civil society all listen to audio news bites using their mobile phones. The language used is Hindi and local dialect Gondi. A civil society representative has used the medium of mobile phone and given rise to grassroots journalism of the marginalized, for the marginalized and right at the margins. New media has opened up the spaces of freedom for civil society to connect on several such sensitive issues and culminate the deliberations into actions. Conclusion. Let us now sum up what we have learned in this lecture. With the increasing use of media by civil society, a new discourse on communication and development has emerged. It engages on strategizing communication campaigns for the purpose of development. The lecture has explored the various types of media, folk media, traditional media, and new media, and its intersections with civil society to approach the emergence. Various sections of the lecture have highlighted the civil society media amalgamations through several examples from the contemporary times. For more information, please refer to the e-text of this lecture. For in-depth study, do go through the extended reading list provided with the lecture and attempt all the questions given in the end. Thank you.